Hey, I'm going to start today with an admission. And that is most of my motivation comes from other people. All through my life, other people have been my motivator. And as I get older, I realize how that's caused me some challenges. We're going to talk about motivating yourself and when others aren't doing that. It's going to be quite a discussion, I think, because it's been a wild morning already. I mean, it's 8:13 and we're just getting started because Tom and I were talking. Well, I was talking, Tom was just there, and he motivates me every morning. So we're going to talk about all that and more on episode 938. Whoa, 938 of today's Antidote.
Stay tuned for today's Antidote, brought to you by the Renegade Success Network. Today's Antidote provides an opportunity for business owners and leaders to discover what is real for them and to be impacted by what is real for others. That is the Renegade way. Let's get real. We all face challenges and get stuck occasionally and are looking for an antidote. Each weekday, this show dives into a topic that may have you stuck, frustrated, and uncertain. Our goal is to share our value in an effort to help you find that one thing, the antidote to your challenges, so that you can get results and make more money. And now, Renegades, we bring you Bob Graham and Tom Brush.
Good morning. Happy Thursday to you. Wow, I almost said Wednesday.
Well, good morning, Bob. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I mean, because we've been talking for the last hour about me and my life and traumas and dramas. But yeah, you get the picture.
It's all right. It's an opportunity to share and to be heard. Very important things in our lives.
And to be heard. And I think this morning I shared some things with you that might have caught you a little off guard.
Well, it was interesting.
When the plot to the movie becomes reality, that usually throws me.
Fair.
I won't tell you what movie, but
that's all right. So we're talking about being motivated.
Yes, and I get so much of my motivation from other people. Especially when people go, "Oh, Bob, you're so good at this. Oh, Bob, I love the way you write. Oh, Bob, this. Oh, Bob, that."
Words of affirmation.
Affirmation, absolutely. I had a boss, I think, that realized that very early in my career and fed that to me, which is great. Being a great leader, this is what your person needs to be motivated. You provide to them. As I've gotten older, though, I've started to realize that others' affirmations can be fleeting. And as you get into more complicated situations, the opportunity to be affirmed by people lessens many times because it's complications and they see things different ways. And also the solutions that you come up with are a combination of people. So it's rarely now, "Bob, you're amazing." It's more like, "Hey, Bob, you really contributed some valuable stuff to that thing that we collectively came up with." Like you and me. These shows aren't you. These shows aren't me. I would never say to someone, "Oh, I drive the show. I do everything." Tom just shows up, hits the buttons, and we're good.
Lessons.
So if I'm affirmed now, if someone says nice things in the comments or says, "Hey, this is a great show," I'm motivated by that somewhat, but I also share that with you in a way that when I was younger, it was very much about me.
Well, and here's the other thing too, is how do we know that what they're saying to us is truly what they believe? Especially like if people know that you're a words of affirmation person, maybe they just share words of affirmation because they think that's what you need. And then oftentimes that might not be what you're looking for.
Just like the leader who constantly has people telling them yes and never challenges their ideas.
Correct. Yes, I think so that becomes challenging, right? If we don't really know what's the motive behind why somebody is trying what we think is doing something to motivate us, yet might not really be their true intent.
And that's where when others aren't motivating me, I need to motivate myself. And ultimately, motivating myself is more powerful anyway, because I know myself and I know how much work it takes to accomplish certain things. I had a meeting at 5 a.m. this morning. I've had a meeting at 5 a.m. all week. I know the effort it took to get out of bed at 4:36, get a shower, get ready, and be on the call at 5 o'clock. No one else understands it. Oh, wow, you were up at 5 a.m. for a meeting. Wow, you're really dedicated. Yeah, they get it from a I could not do it way. Wow, you're really dedicated to your clients. But they don't know that today I really didn't want to get up.
Well, and they could be like, wow, you're really dedicated, and be like that. And then when they're not in front of you, be like, that guy's crazy. He has no boundaries.
Right.
He's just shilling for what anybody who will want to work with him. What is wrong with him?
Wow, shilling. Look at you. Some pent-up energy on that one.
No, just a word that popped in my head. And I was like,
you're right. That's exactly it. And I think when people say things to us and they're not honest, I'd rather the person say, I would never get up at 5 o'clock in the morning for a client, no matter what. Okay, great. That's your boundary. That's
what's real for you.
Now, what they don't know is I've taken a nap every day this week at 1:30 or 2 o'clock for an hour. And there are plenty of people in my life that would be like, really? You take a nap at 1 o'clock? Yeah, because at 1 o'clock, I've worked 7 or 8 hours already.
Sure.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I didn't think about that.
And this is a good
that's the part.
That type of work.
I know what I go through to get to where I am. You don't know. I can tell you, but you haven't had my experience, my knowledge, my perspective. And so I think motivating ourselves ultimately is the way we get things done.
Well, and here's the other challenge, I think, as we talk about this, is we're not always around others. Or around others who understand enough about what's real for us that they can help motivate us. And so how do we, in those times when there aren't others around, which are usually the most challenging, get motivated? When we don't have that external influence, and now we have to figure out how to motivate ourselves when there's not others around to do it. Yeah. Or there are others around and they're not motivating us. They're maybe doing the complete opposite.
I was going to say they're motivating themselves through us or demotivating themselves. Oh, wow. Bob's getting up at 5 o'clock. I'm not getting up till 8:30. Geez, I'm not doing my job. I should really get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Well, maybe you're not a morning person. And so that doesn't work for you. Maybe you're better at 5 p.m.
Sure.
Or maybe you have a different kind of job. And I think that's the topic today, when others aren't motivating me. I think that's reality. I don't think there's a when. I think it's always.
It's always, you lost me a little bit there.
People are always not motivating us.
People are so we're never motivated.
We are always the people who have to motivate ourselves.
We're always the people who have to motivate us. Well, I mean, ultimately, that's what it comes down to, right? Even if those people are trying to motivate us, likely they're trying to motivate us in how they motivate themselves, which might not be how we get motivated. That make sense?
Say it again. This is getting to be one of the most complicated.
So others trying to motivate us. Now, unless they know us well, like people on the show know that you love your words of affirmation. And so they might know that. Many other people, especially people we work with, because we've never shared what motivates us with them, they are trying to motivate us by what motivates them. I think that's one of the challenges for leaders, is they know what motivates them or what motivated them to get to where they are. And they think if I just share that and do the same thing with the people who I'm responsible for working with, that they'll get the same motivation. And they won't. I think it's the common challenge in many organizations is, how are people motivated? And when we try to motivate everybody the exact same way, like we were talking about this once, kind of like what would be a reward for someone in an organization, and whether it's more days off or and for some people it's more days off because they use all their days off. For me, like, freaking, I don't need another day off because I've got X number in the bank that I haven't used yet. So that's not really going to motivate me to do anything different. For some others, it might be, they think the motivation is a bonus. And while the money, I'm sure, is great and appreciated, there might be others who would love an extra day off. So, because that's how they might be motivated, because they feel like they're going all the time and never have time off, or because they have something going on in their life that is forcing them to use all of their days off. And wow, wouldn't it be great if I could just get one more? I would be really motivated if I was the person who received this extra day off. So often we try to motivate others in the way that we're motivated.
Oh, I think we do it all the time. Sure. I share more words of affirmation than I bet 98% of the population.
And for some people, that's probably valuable because they're words of affirmation.
And there are several people who have said to me, hey, dude, shut up already.
Right. You're blowing smoke at me. I don't need that. I'm good.
And that might be a person where, if their love language is physical touch or acts of service, those I have to really think about. They don't just come to me. But when I do think about them, it motivates them. And I've found that some of those things that I didn't think about a lot actually resonate with me.
Because it's unique, right? And you're looking at it from a different perspective. Because you'd be like, well, what? Here's the thing. We could get on this show and you could start going off and then be like, that doesn't make any sense, Bob. Why are you talking about that?
Right.
And like, it might motivate.
That's what you do before the show each day, if we're being honest. Bob, that makes no sense. This is what you have to say. You give me the script and then I talk.
Yeah. No. But it could be, if I'm just giving you words, if you're just giving me words of affirmation and I like, all right, that doesn't really motivate me. Right. If I thought I was a words of affirmation person and then you started challenging me with what I was saying and actually being like, huh. And I could be like, geez, that's an interesting motivator. Is now I don't know if I can say this, pissed me off.
Right.
And I'm motivated to do something different. Which I never thought that would be a motivator for me. Mm-hmm. And I think those are the things when we start to see other perspectives or people come in and try to motivate us in a different way, it opens our eyes to the possibilities that, and we can then decide, okay, I like that, or be like, Bob, you're now really starting to frustrate me because you're challenging me on everything. And while I can appreciate some of that, I might not truly appreciate all of it.
Right. And I think we have to know ourselves and what motivates ourselves before we can help motivate other people.
Sure.
And I think that's one of the steps that I forgot when I first became a manager. I thought everyone was motivated the same way I was. So I said great things to the women that I worked with, and you're doing great work. For one of them, it worked really well. For the other two, they wanted time off.
Yeah.
And what all three of them really liked was when I bought lunch on Friday. Little do they know how much money I spent on lunch on Fridays that I didn't have, that I did not expense because I wasn't smart enough to realize I could expense it.
Yeah, if that was motivating them, it would have been worth it.
Right. And because they were motivated, it made my job easier. And so that was money well spent. And you've frozen again. But Tom, I got to say, today you froze in the best freeze that you could do. So congrats on that. Are you back?
Am I back?
I can hear you now, but you look like a bad holograph. Now you're getting better.
Okay. Bad holograph. That's not good.
You know what a holograph is, right? You're garbled. I've lost you completely. So I'm just going to keep going myself. The joys of this program sometimes. So when we talk about motivating ourselves and when others aren't, I think I go back to my one thing today is really you've got to know what motivates you, and you've got to use it when you need it to motivate yourself. And one of the things that motivates me sometimes is to have a checklist and I can check things off. The more busy I am in a day, the more I want that checklist so I can say, oh, I did 9 things today. And that works very well for me. Other people, I have a client who likes to write things on a whiteboard and erase them. I have another client who likes to, what motivates them is the cup of coffee at lunchtime. If they work all morning. So, we celebrate. We talk about celebrations a lot, you and I. I think the motivating and the celebrating are very closely tied together.
And I think also sharing feedback.
Right.
Because I was sharing this once with a leader who wasn't getting, the people who they were trying to provide feedback to weren't getting it. And I said to them, well, I said, do you know how they like to receive feedback and when? Sometimes we just walk up to somebody at their desk and we decide this is the time to provide some feedback to them. And they may not be open to that at the moment. And so they can't receive it. And so I said, as a new leader for them, I said, go have a conversation with someone. Find out, how do they like to receive feedback? Do they want it in person? Do they not want it in person because they don't want us to see their reaction, so send it in an email? Do you want to set up a time to give feedback or so that we're meeting people where they're at, whether it's with how we motivate them. And I think that's another good question to ask is what motivates you? What motivates you in this job? So that
most people don't even know the answer to that because they've never thought about it. Or they'll say, I just want to contribute or a paycheck.
Which is okay. Again, and that's helpful to know those people who, I worked for 2 different state institutions or organizations. I shouldn't call them institutions.
Institutions makes it sound like it's mental health.
I know. Although sometimes in
it
higher ed,
it felt like it.
It is mental health.
Having gone to college at one of them and taught there, one of them, yes.
So I think that there's some people who no doubt worked there because of the paycheck benefits, and
sure,
showed up 8:01, and they walked out of the door at 4:59, packed and ready to go at 4:59 to walk out the door. They knew exactly how long it took for them to walk to the front door so that they were never leaving the building before 5. Yet they were done working probably 20 minutes before that.
And you may think, folks, that Tom is exaggerating. I worked for a state agency for 2 years. They would queue up at the elevator at 4:54 so that they could take the elevator down because they knew how long it would take typically. And they'd be at the door and 5 o'clock would hit right out the door.
And I'm not saying, I never judged those people for that. Yeah. That was their they weren't motivated by the same things that I was, which is okay. They were motivated by they could get a good job with good benefits. It allowed them to leave the office at 5, not think about work the rest of the night. And at 8:01, when they showed up at their desk, they would be thinking about work again. Nothing wrong with that. So it's just a matter of understanding what that is and how that drives the work that they do. And that just giving them a pat on the back or some award or something was not necessarily what they were looking for. They were looking for time because they valued their time differently than I did. And so I think those are important things for us to understand, so that we can not only motivate and to understand for ourselves, so that we can motivate us and we can then motivate others, which is really about knowing how do they motivate themselves, which is our topic, I think.
And teams motivate the team in ways as well.
Sure.
My words of affirmation when I'm working with the team may not be as important to just the team doing something together.
It's interesting. Stephen has this comment. 60% of work hours on average is productive. Which, what's fascinating to me about that is, so why do we work 40-hour weeks?
To get 24 hours of productivity.
Yeah, I guess I guess that's
And
what they had to figure out.
extrapolate that out. You work 60 hours a week, and that would be 36 hours of productivity.
Yeah, close
right?
to 40. Yes.
So when you think of the person who works a 60-hour work week, they may have 40 hours of work to do, and they're unproductive for that time.
Right.
I never really thought through that, but that's an interesting justification for working 60-hour work weeks.
I wonder if that's how they got the 9 to 5, is they realized that people were only going to effectively work for 60% of the time. And the only way they could get to whatever time they felt like they needed, we had to build it to 9 to 5 instead of like 9 to 3 or whatever. You know, like, why is a school day only 9 to 3, but a work day is 9 to 5?
I don't have an answer for you. Deep Thoughts with Tom Brush.
You have to work on that one.
Yeah. Get
right,
that book done first, and then you can work on that one.
There we go. Did you give your one thing?
I did, while you were garbled.
Okay. I guess my one thing about motivating me when others aren't, I think it's the realization that really the only one who can motivate me is me. I can take value from what others do and how others are motivated. And yet ultimately, if it's not real for me, it's not going to motivate me. And I think that also then allows me, especially when others aren't around, to know how I motivate myself. Like a lot of times the way I motivate myself is if I work hard for another hour, especially if it's a nice day like today, I can go sit outside or go play with the dogs for 20 minutes. And that's sort of a motivation of, okay, if I get this done, then I can do something else. So trying to truly understand what motivates you can be really helpful, because others aren't always going to be around to do it.
Well, and you, even though they may or may not be around, but even if they are around, you can't always expect them to motivate you because they're busy motivating themselves or dealing with themselves.
Or they think that they know how you want to be motivated, which isn't really the way you want to be motivated. If they think, oh, they just want to hear words of affirmation, and so I agree with everything they say, and I give them all these platitudes or whatever, and that doesn't truly motivate them. It might give them some pleasure.
Right.
What they really would motivate them is somebody who would actually come and tell them the truth.
Interesting.
Fascinating thought, huh?
Yeah, I'll have to really think through that one today.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right, folks.
All right,
go ahead. I was going to jump in and do it, but you go.
All right, everyone. Thanks so much for being with us today. Stephen, thanks for sharing your comments. We appreciate that. And if you happen to be listening to the podcast or you're watching this later and have comments, feel free to put them in the comment section, or you can join us in our Sculpt Your Business Facebook group, where you can share your thoughts and ideas there and gain the value of others who have shared their thoughts and ideas. So we look forward to seeing you inside that group. If not, we'll see you tomorrow morning. Did we decide that?
I don't think we did.
I thought we decided we will definitely do it tomorrow. And
okay.
Then
all right.
We have an ulterior motive here. So we're trying to plan our days between now and March 19th.
Oh, now you let the cat out of the bag.
Socks and Sam Hunt, we're going to stay in the bag forever. So.
Oh, good point. Or they'd be in the bag fighting by now.
Yes. So we look forward to seeing you inside of that group. If not, we'll see you tomorrow morning, 7 a.m.-ish, maybe 8 a.m.-ish, depending on things that are happening.
Bob's life.
Bob's life. We'll see what time we'll be here.
Hey, whatever you do between now and when you see us next, embrace the renegading you. So worth it. Whoa! He pulled a curveball on me. I got to talk about something I wasn't prepared to talk about. Hey, there's going to be a webinar coming up real soon. I can't see the date because, well, it's covered over. But it's at noon Eastern time, someday in December. I don't know is it December 1st? 4th? 5th? December 5th. Okay, it's literally covered up. So you want to talk about your business and how to sculpt it, how to make it really powerful going into 2024? We've got a webinar for you. It can be your best year yet. Those aren't just words. We really believe that we can help you get there through a process we've used a couple of times with groups. It's been really successful. We want to use it with you. So you'll see more about that coming up real soon. If you want some preview information, contact Tom. Don't contact me because clearly I don't know enough about it to really get into the details. But kidding aside, this is really something powerful. We're going to get real about your business, and we're going to help you sculpt something that you can be proud of, that you can be excited to go do, and something that's going to change how the world sees what you do. That's a pretty big promise, but I think we can deliver.